Welcome to the show, everybody. So this is streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. It's going to be on LinkedIn and also my podcast later on. But I've got a very special show today because previously I've only ever had one other person at a time. So this is a first for me to have not only more than one person. I've got an extra, let's count them all, an extra 6 people. So I'm heavily outnumbered, but I've heard that everyone has been trained not to talk over each other and so on, or argue with each other, hopefully. So we'll see how it goes. So this is the Path Hive Consortium. I'm very honoured to be welcoming today. So I met Ashraf a few weeks ago, or maybe a month or two ago now, on LinkedIn, and he was telling me about the consortium and about how they've got this sort of new approach to help companies and so on with change management. It sounded really interesting. So, and he said he'd bring a few colleagues onto the show as well today. So I thought it'd be very useful if you could just all start by introducing, or just sort of saying just who you are, where you're from, and sort of what the sort of what sort of things you do, how you sort of help either the consortium or your clients with and so on. So I think if I just ask for people to jump in, it's going to be a bit pandemonium. So I think I'll call you out individually. So Ashraf, would you like to start?
I would like to start by asking Noreen to start, following the basic rule of ladies first.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Ashraf. That's being put on the spot. So my name is Noreen Cesario, and I'm the principal of Market Accents, which is a strategic thought leadership, communications, marketing, and brand consultancy. And we basically help companies find the direction and their voice and find the space in which to operate. So our contribution within Path is on the marketing and communication side, and the thought leadership that comes with the strategy. So we've been working with Path and with various members as we're building this up. And that is what we bring to the table with the members as well in terms of our service.
Would you like to nominate someone else, Ashraf?
Yes, Alan.
Alan always comes near the top of the list because I'm first in the alphabet.
Well, let's just do it alphabetically, I think. That's going to be easiest, isn't it?
So Ashraf, you're next.
Okay.
No, hi everybody. Alan Robb. I'm a program manager. I trained with Ernst & Young many years ago in the finance world and spent 20 years with KPMG. I've spent another nearly 20 years working in my own business as a program manager at the delivery side of change programs. I work across many sectors, worked internationally. Even before COVID, I was working remotely and virtually, working with international clients across different countries, delivering change programs with multifunctional teams. I've used a tool technique called the 7 levers of change for many years. And when I met Ashraf, he talked the same language as me, and the whole concept of having people at the heart of the change focus really it was clear to me that we were on the same wavelength. The 7 levers have people in process and technology, but I believe that having people at the heart of it is the way to succeed going forward. So I think consortium we will bring different things to the venture, and I'll let them talk more about what they're bringing next.
Okay, that sounds good. So do you want to carry on the alphabetical theme, Ashraf?
Yeah, so Ashraf Boktor. I was lucky to meet Jerome, Alan, Noreen, Richard, Duan, and another 12 people more. And as Alan said, we were on the same wavelengths. We recognized together that corporate and other organizations face a lot of challenges when they manage transformation and projects and change. And we identified the 7 main reasons really why projects fail, mapping out of thousands of reasons. And we developed together solutions to these 7 points where actually people are at the heart. Even when it comes to technology part, which Jerome will talk about it, and Duan, we put people at the heart of technology. So we believe we're offering really something new to the corporate world, which will lead to more harmony and more long-term prosperity for them.
Okay, that sounds great. So next one is it Duan?
Duanjan.
Duanjan.
Yeah, actually Duanjan, but you can call me Duan. It's just
Duan. Okay.
The shorter version, because of like people find it really hard to pronounce my name. So in the UK mostly.
Well, what country?
Duan is fine.
What country are you from?
I'm originally from Turkey.
Oh,
I'm a computer and software engineer. I have degrees in computer engineering and software management. And also I have an MBA degree from Cranfield University from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been living in the UK around 4 years. I have my own company, a software company. I'm providing software solutions to SMEs. And in Path, I'm mostly responsible of the quality assurance of software, or how like the delivery of the software, and also I'm helping Ashraf to understand more about how the software will be used within Path and how it's going to be. And we are talking with Jerome as well. Jerome is the main responsible. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Sounds good. And so I think you're next, Jerome. You're muted.
Please mute me. So hi. So I'm Jerome McGilvery. I'm the kind of the second other technology partner, as it were, in the consortium. So I met Ashraf, I guess it was about a year ago or something now. Introduced to him by Noreen, really. So I'm British, obviously. You know, I actually live now in Eastern Europe. So I spend most of my time in Estonia and Ukraine. And I'm the CEO of a software company here. We were a software company, and we're now an e-commerce digital agency. So we kind of moved the company into the e-commerce world.
Yeah.
But principally, I think I've been behind a lot of the architecture of the sort of Path platform, and working with Ashraf to sort of understand how technology, technology can be an enabler for Path. And actually, I got involved really, from meeting a kind of chance meeting with Ashraf at King's Cross Station. Actually, my background in the UK was in program management and project management for a long time, really in sort of software and systems implementation. And one of the biggest things I got out of that experience was the fact that no IT project is just about technology. It's always about people. Yeah. You're always trying to do something with people. And the biggest battle to adoption in any IT project, and it's like, I think the commonest reason they fail is because they fail to bring the people with them. And that's all about change. Yeah. So it really, the whole thing resonated with me because of all those IT projects where, I was dealing with all the IT stuff and then realized, well, actually, do you know what? It kind of doesn't really matter whether we don't deliver Microsoft CRM or Salesforce, because if the staff won't use it, then it's a failure before we even begin to worry about what kind of technology we're using.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
That's what brought me into it.
Great. And Richard?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good to see you all. I'm Richard Baldermeeken, and my business is New Era Financial Introductions. And what I do is I help business owners, or in this case, consortium members, with the very early part of the sales process, which is lead generation, to bring new opportunities, conversations through into their organizations. I just love working with experts and running with their great ideas, to the extent that when I first met Ashraf, it was one bank holiday Monday, last year in a coffee shop when we were allowed to meet, to have a good detailed conversation about what he was looking to achieve, in a disruptive way, but very gentle way, in terms of making sure teams were fully engaged in the project management process. And since that time, many things have changed. The consortium's grown in numbers, and where I am is to continue where I can to introduce our target market to the consortium, to see if they have a program of projects underway that we may be able to assist them with, and to kind of endear their team to them, to get the team to buy into what they're doing, and then to help run with them after the past consortium members have finished. So yeah, our work is by getting under the skin about the proposition, identifying the target market by sector and geographic location. In this case, start with its central and greater London, and making contact with organisations by the phone and email, and following up to get engagement and speak with actual decision makers. It's not always easy. In fact, it very rarely is easy to speak with them directly, but we can make progress over time. And once we create a reputation through our posts on social media, LinkedIn and the like, and transmissions like this, then yeah, it's all moving in the right direction. That's me. Thank you. Okay,
that sounds great. So I feel that I ought to introduce myself as well, because I've chatted with Ashraf a bit, but the others might not, or some of the also listeners and viewers might not know that much about me and what I do in my background. But I'm actually a chartered accountant, although I'm not practicing as such at the moment, but I qualified at a firm called Spicer and Pegler, which became part of first Touche Ross, then Deloitte and Touche, and then Deloitte. So I always say I'm Deloitte's trained. And I worked in industry for many years in both large and small companies. And during that time, I did get involved with implementations of new accounting systems, and they always used to bring these consultants in, and I always used to question how useful they were, because they never, from my perspective, they just charged a lot of money and didn't really do very much. But I suppose nothing, we did need them in a way, because nothing would have happened without them. And then since about 2000, just after that, I left the world of accountancy to start my internet marketing business, which has been involved in lots of things: SEO, social media, really into sort of generating traffic, personal branding, and generating leads, and just converting that into profit, into the bottom line. So, and I see that a lot of companies just do not have a very good internet presence. They just don't really understand how to use the internet to the fullest advantage, and they're using techniques from 5-10 years ago. So they're just being overtaken by the competitors, where it's such an incredible opportunity today for most companies to improve their profits by improving their internet presence. So enough of the introductions. Let's dive in with some of the questions. So, well, my first question is, what's the main reason, would you say, that projects sometimes fail?
Let me jump in.
Okay.
Great place to start. There are probably, Ashraf talked about 7, but there's probably about 700 reasons why projects fail. And if you think about the different dimensions, people will blame technology, whether it's an application or the internet or some the build. People will blame lack of budget or lack of time. They'll potentially blame management for not having enough vision. They'll blame the sort of the management process people for not having enough process in place. potentially they'll blame the people, and this is where the people at the heart kicks in. And mostly people are resistant to change, even those who say they're not. They'll find that it's difficult, and people, there's a way of analysing resistance through different aspects. There's rational blockages, political blockages, and emotional blockages, and it's a question of understanding each of those and trying to find solutions to it. But as somebody said earlier, yes, there are many reasons, but you need people to make these things work.
Sure, yeah, and I can imagine a lot of people feel threatened by change as well. They might feel they've got this nice, comfortable lifestyle going on, and then this change comes. They're not sure if they're going to be able to master it. They don't know what the position's going to be like afterwards, and that sort of thing.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's certainly true of almost any technology project, because almost any technology project in an organization is affecting change. I mean, that's the point, isn't it? Yeah. You wouldn't bring in a new finance system unless it was going to change something. Otherwise, you wouldn't bother. Yeah. So in most cases, IT projects always bring change. And the principal rationale most of the time for IT projects is some kind of efficiency. You're trying to make something more efficient. You're trying to improve a process. You're trying to use that deadly, horrible word, automation. Yeah. And automating it. I mean, it's a natural. You shouldn't get away from the fact that in most cases, automation means removing somebody, removing cogs from the wheel. That means people. Yeah. And you have to be upfront about it in projects straight away. And people are not often ready to do that. And yeah, so it kind of creeps up. And then suddenly people suddenly realize that they're getting a new IT system, and they're getting a new process or some change in their department, some big project, which the end result is people start to look at, am I one of the ones who's going to go? Am I? And yeah, I mean, my experience isn't enormous, but of all the projects where I've seen it fail, it's failed when it got to the people. It's the people that are forgotten or not brought along with the process or are left until the last minute. It's at the end of it all that we decide we need to train people rather than carrying them along. So, yeah.
And I've got a sense from Path already that this is part of your USP, that your whole thing is to try and sort of use more the people like on the ground, sort of inside, and sort of bring them on board.
Yeah, it's actually putting people back really at the heart of it. As Jerome was saying, most of them fail because the people element is left lost or not given enough attention, not communicated enough. And by putting people back at the heart of it, actually having everything revolve around the people, then it starts falling in place and actually works well. Jerome used the word cogs. You can have it working as a whole hive across all the different functions. And I will bring in, the people, the project and technology. They go hand in hand. If you take one element out of it when you're doing change projects, then you're actually increasing your chances of failure by not working together as three pillars.
Sure. Okay, well, let's go on to the next question. Do you have any resentment towards top consultancies?
Okay, I will take this question.
Okay.
No, we don't have at all.
No.
We would love them to join us in the new way of thinking. They are very smart people, very talented people, and we want them to join us in a new direction, actually. And this direction is really based on the empowerment of the internal talent and sharing the skills that top consultancies have and we have to really empower the people and make them actually independent of consultants. And that would be good for the consultancy sector in the very long term. So we have no resentment, and it's an invitation to join forces for really long-term prosperity of the corporate world.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. Now, do you think some people would say that you're asking for the keys to the kingdom?
Richard, what do you think about this?
Explain what you mean by the keys to the kingdom. You suggesting the big firms have the keys, or they are the kingdom, or? I don't understand the question, Keith. I'm sorry.
Well, I think it means that, I mean, just by this consortium, you go to a sort of company and you're basically asking for sort of everything they've got, access to sort of everything, and also as well as that, you're also asking for to play in the same league as the sort of the big consultancy firms when you're very small at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's linked to your previous question. My answer to both of those is around the big firms are big and professional and set a standard, and they set the bar quite high.
Yes.
I think what we bring is top firm experience at a fraction of the price, who are able to deliver more quickly, more nimbly, more flexibly, in a more people-oriented fashion. So we definitely see them as competition for sure, but we just think we can bring more for less.
I think that's one of the advantages of being a smaller firm, isn't it? The less sort of bureaucracy and so on.
And if I can add, sorry, without jumping on top of each other, when you work with the larger firms, what you tend to find is at the beginning, you've engaged a very large firm and you have the senior consultant who's sitting with you at that very start, but then they're bringing in the team, the department, and the juniors, and many a time it's the juniors who they place in situ on site with you. This isn't obviously a generalization. I wouldn't want to have everybody tarnished with the same brush, but what we're saying is you're actually getting a much higher caliber of consultancy throughout the project you engage with us. So although you say we're small, actually we're not that small, because you're speaking to a consortium of companies that are bringing in very large company expertise, and we're actually very agile because of the way we're set up. So I would think, we're competition for most of the other consultancies rather than just a small fry. I wouldn't actually put us in that league at all.
Okay, that sounds good. Oh yeah, go on, Ashraf.
I want to add two things to this. The members of our consortium have delivered parts of these strategies and solutions to top companies such as Microsoft, Google, Nike, Unilever. So just putting everything together in our innovation pass hive is new, but loads of the techniques and strategy already tested and delivered to top clients. Secondly, answering, are we asking for the keys of the kingdom? Yes, but for one reason, and this may be related to your first question, why projects fail, because when people have been looking at the reasons for projects failure, they were designing a solution that mainly based on a methodology. They tried to perfect methodology. So they keep jumping from the waterfall to the agile to the design thinking and so on. But still, they are thinking if they get the better methodology, that will be a silver bullet for solution. But we, looking at all these hundreds or thousands of reasons, we identify that it's not the methodology that will offer a solution, is this holistic approach that is starting from the strategy, the people, the balancing of projects, the delivery, the methodology, all these things together, what will really lead to success? This holistic approach that we put together into our Path Hive innovation solution. So yes, we're asking for the keys of the kingdom because we believe that's the only way that corporate can utilize their resources to really have long-term independent success when they manage projects. So, and that's why one of our main mottos, changing mindsets to achieve your project goals, which is a tough ask. But yes, we're asking for the keys of the kingdom, and we're putting our hearts and soul and money that is the way forward in change management.
And I think that we may be asking for the keys to the kingdom, but we'll actually return the keys to the team members because they'll be going through retraining, reskilling under our consortium members' tutorship, so that then they can take the key.
Yeah.
and run with that through the life of that particular project or those projects.
Okay, that sounds great. Now, I imagine any company that's considering some sort of big project like this, they're obviously going to be very concerned that the project, that it might not come in on time, it might well go way over budget, or it might not fulfill the sort of original scope. So do you guarantee that the projects that you manage will come in on time, under budget and within scope?
Let me start. I can, because I can point to 25 years experience of delivering projects and change.
Okay.
I've had professional indemnity insurance on and off for the last 25 years as well, and never had a claim on it. I've billed clients monthly for the last 25 years and never had a debt unpaid. I know how to get things done. It's a question of agreeing the right terms of reference, the scope, the resources required, the management, the governance, and all the steps, and the guarantee is there for that.
Okay.
Jerome, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, only because I work in software engineering, you never guarantee anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure I would be quite so bullish as to promise that every time we run a project, it was a brilliant success. But in any case, I think, PATH is offering something here that's uniquely different. So I don't think, kind of slightly going back again, we're not really in competition here with the big agencies, and we're not trying to deliver a framework that's a comparator with waterfall or agile or something like that. This is a very different take. Maybe agile is a little bit like that, because agile was invented for software delivery, and it was invented because software engineers understood that the frameworks and methodologies that existed before didn't work with people. So agile, it's kind of lost that a little bit, but agile was originally invented as a way of getting software engineers to work together and cooperate to deliver software, because it was understood that waterfall and methods that were around then just didn't work for the people who were involved, the guys who were actually making stuff. And if you like, there's a parallel there that I think PATH Hive is a framework for delivering projects that involves people, but it's not agile versus waterfall versus PATH Hive. We're doing something very different here, in which the delivery of a actual project, the rivets and whatever, and it could be an IT system, or it could be a brand new headquarters, or it could be whatever, a thousand different things that can be delivered as a project in an organization, regulatory change, whatever. In a sense, the framework that you use, the method you use to deliver that, might be agile or waterfall or something like that, or a combination, or something completely different, or extreme programming or whatever. But PATH Hive is giving a very different framework to that. So I don't see that it's really, I don't think that it's quite the same thing. It's not quite parallel to that. So, do we guarantee to bring everyone with us? Well, I think, if we work at it and we run this kind of PATH process, then yeah, we take an organization with us,
Ashraf?
Yes, I mean, it's really, in my opinion, it's against nature if you guarantee optimization of 3 parameters: under budget, on time, and on scope, because life tells you once you try to optimize 2 elements, you still need to optimize. You cannot achieve perfection in both. So this old cliche of on time, under budget, within the scope, within the quality, we are actually going beyond this, because our focus is not just on one project. We go for the organization who identifies the internal talent. We go and link strategy, people, and balancing of projects. We prioritize the projects, and then we get everyone involved in developing the solution by sharing our innovation techniques. So we are giving every possible chance for long-term success. And that is a very, very different view from give me a project, I would deliver it on budget, within a scope, and with a benefit. Because we want to change the mindset of corporates that sometimes it's good to kill a project. Sometimes it's good to pause a project, you know. It all depends on our holistic end-to-end approach, you know. So we are not really contradicting ourselves. We are bringing to the corporate the best possible chance for optimum long-term performance.
Yes, and you're saying that the optimum long-term performance is more important than whether or not one individual project, you know, comes in under budget or succeeds or something like that, because you're looking at the much bigger picture, which
Exactly.
because of your bringing on the hearts and minds of the people involved and, you know, giving it back to them, letting them take ownership of it and so on, that could lead to much more prosperity in the long run. So why do you think it is that corporations can't sort of do all this on their own? Why do you think that they need external consultants to come in and manage these transformation projects for them?
Well, I kick off with a couple of suggestions. The two things that come to mind are capability and capacity. Capability is bringing in people who have done it before and can help steer and coach and bring that experience. And capacity sometimes is just resources. Many businesses are perhaps they've gone too lean in some cases and do not have the spare capacity to either the management or the teams to take on change programs. And sometimes there's when you're on programs, you need there's a cycle of you need more people for a while and then less people afterwards, and the external consortiums like ourselves can bring that added resource. So yeah, combination of capacity and capability.
Okay.
Ashraf, how important do you think a third-party overview is on in managing project management and with the portfolio? Is that we would give a third-party overview?
Say again, Richard.
Take the emotion out of thinking on certain projects because they're important to one member of the board, but perhaps not to the others. But we can have like an overview of everything that's scheduled to be completed, and help the board manage them to a logical conclusion in a logical order.
I believe, Keith, and we've done this before. We've done brainstorming where we challenge each other to bring one single most reason. This is a little bit delicate. Why corporate go and rely on external to manage projects for them? And the conclusion was, unfortunately, the top executives, whenever there is something sensitive to run, there is a panic button, and they like to get established name for their own security, because when things go wrong, they are safe. Yeah. And we come, sorry, this is a bit tough, but this is reality. And we are here to change this mindset and tell the executive, your long-term security lies in the long-term results, and that is more important than short-term. And we have the names, expertise, and tools to offer you security. And you have the internal talent that is normally ignored, that you don't look at, that will actually offer results. That is one of the main reasons. Executives, they ignore the internal talent. They think that they are good at the daily operation, but they don't have the transferable skills. And the external can give security, and they have done it before. What we say, we've done it before, but we will, while delivering this project, we will share all our expertise via live mentoring and training to your internal talent, and they will deliver this success for you. So your people are empowered, you are secure because you have results, you know. So it's a tough ask, but we, again, it's a changing this mindset. Don't think about your own security, think about the long term, think about your people. Yes, they have the skill set, but they need transferable skills to come to them, because this is what consultancy offer, transferable skills, which we will share with the internal talent, and ignore these facts that you need. It's a political environment, and having external means I avoid politics, because with people at the heart, politics will be reduced and reduced and reduced. So it's a tough challenge for us, but we believe we will either change a mindset, or we will have the ready executive there whom that really, what we say, it's music to the ears, because they're really interested in their own people. They don't want politics to take over their change and transformation, and they really care in the long-term results rather than their own security. Yeah, it's a tough ask, but we are there to change it.
But how would you deal with a situation where you do get there is some sort of conflict in the board? Like, some people are in favour of the project, some people aren't in favour. Yeah, how do you avoid sort of getting mixed up in all that?
Well, I make a start, Ashraf. For me, it's about collaboration.
Yeah.
And if the board is not united, it's a question of combination of maybe some one-to-ones to understand why the dissenters maybe are not agreeing with the chief exec's new strategy or the finance new business plan, whatever it is. So doing some one-to-ones to getting to the root of the problem, and also doing some workshops together with the whole board. So taking them perhaps out of their normal day-to-day, and maybe doing some visioning, getting the chief exec to explain the new strategy, putting things on the table, and getting them to talk to each other. And through a combination of both of these things, then hopefully you can come out with some next steps that help get alignment and smooth things going forward.
If once you're doing re-strategizing or using the prioritization principle, it's evidence-based. So there's a way to win hearts and minds on the projects, and whether it's being driven because of internal politics. At the end of the day, if you're at that level, you have a duty of care towards the company. So we tend to work with them to make sure that they can see where they're going, the ROI they're getting out of the projects that they're actually prioritizing on, and the end game in terms of meeting the overall objectives, because they have to answer to their stakeholders. So we are always putting people back at the heart of everything. Even within the politics, you can break that down with an argument, because if you're having politics and going nowhere, then you're not going to fulfill your objectives or actually even action out your strategy. And as a director, or as a manager, as a C-level executive, at the end of the day, you will be judged against what you're bringing to the table. So I think that puts it firmly back on the table there.
Okay, that sounds good. So my next question is, like, the sort of the talent, the internal talent that you're working with, that you're trying to empower and teach and so on. Are these normally the sort of the younger members of staff, or is it sometimes the older members of staff as well?
Noreen?
You have an element of both, because once you're getting people that are actually interested in being part of the project, and you're upskilling and you're cross-skilling. So you could have somebody that's at a managerial level and is looking towards the next steps, but knows that they require more project management, more hands-on, more knowledge of even how to be present at a board meeting or take minutes or operate at that level. So the training cuts across, and that's really, I think, part of the strength, that it's actually on the job as well. So you have the mentorship that comes in, you've got the retraining, you've got the reskilling. You aren't losing any of the organizational memories or any of that learnings that have come there because of the fact they've been with the company for, bottom moving up. And that's obviously the biggest strength. Any strength you have in a company is within your human resources. So you're making sure you're retaining that.
And that is actually from practical experience. you will find an old person over 60 who is keen to just do something completely new, as well as a graduate or someone who just joins the company for a couple of months who's saying, hey, I have more time on my hand, I want to be involved more. So you will be surprised that it can be really not just young people across age and across functions, and that is from real life experience actually, and that also offered little bit of solution for the young as well as the old who feels that they need to do something extra or something new and share knowledge and so on in different ways.
Okay. And if you place that, sorry, in today's context where you have, in a post-COVID world, the jobs are changing, companies are changing, even internally in terms of how they deliver, that will get to be even more important, that you can do the retraining internally and you aren't losing assets that you may want to get back in 6 months, a year down the line.
Okay. And what's your position on outsourcing?
As an accountant, you'll know that the money is quite important.
Yeah.
My recommendations on outsourcing at the beginning were look at your business case, look at what the real savings are, both in the short term and the long term. I worked quite a lot in the area of shared services, which is like an internal sourcing of business processes and people. And my recommendations at the early days of shared services were to bring things in-house, build new target operating models, understand your new service levels and your staffing levels, and take the benefit yourself, and then think about outsourcing if you can drive further efficiency and further operational effectiveness by giving it to somebody else to do.
Yeah,
so yes, it's on the table, but not guaranteed as not everything for everybody.
Yeah, so just look at so it's a possibility. You just see what ultimately would be the cheapest way of producing results.
And as the director of a company that survives to a certain extent on outsourcing, as a provider of outsourced services, I have to say, I mean, we work in the world. I mean, we provide IT services, and particularly, some of what we do is what's typically called in the parlance extended client teams. So we provide outsourcing development services from Estonia and from Ukraine and from other parts of the world for companies to sort of fill out their skill shortage in the UK and the US and stuff. I mean, outsourcing at that sort of level is much more, macro. It's much more about, can you find SAP Hybris engineers in the UK? No, they're like gold dust. Whereas here, you can find them. So, outsourcing more has to do with the practical nature of, can we deliver it? Can we have the resources? Do we have the skills? And for a lot of organizations, and I think that goes back a little bit to the conversation about why have consultants in, is that, certainly from the IT point of view, I always talk to companies and talk to them about what's your core focus? What do you do? Oh, well, we're a retail company. We sell shoes. Okay. So in that case, why have you got an entire department building IT products? Because that's not what you do, is it? You're a retail company, you sell shoes. And so consultants serve that same sort of purpose. And I would say with change consultants in many ways, the company sells shoes, it doesn't do change. Now it might need to do change to sell more shoes, or, to change, or to sell something else, or to grow its business. But then it's sensible that you bring out outside consultants who are professionals, who've got 20 years experience in that, because you won't have those people in your company. And in fact, I'd argue you shouldn't have them in your company, not unless you're a company that's a change management consultancy company. Okay. So I think for me, outsourcing is always about, you outsource the things that you probably have to, as a company, have to think, should I be doing this? Should I be building mobile applications? We need a mobile application for our product, but should I be building it? Because I'm not a mobile development company. No, to outsource that kind of stuff.
I think that providers of outsourcing services are always practicing their craft. So touching on what Jerome was saying, that internal teams aren't all developing apps day in, day out, every day. maybe not keeping in touch with and updating themselves on on new techniques, and perhaps don't have the experience of working across different industry sectors. So that's certainly where the benefit of experience can come through by budding up and outsourcing certain key functions.
Okay.
There is a difference between outsourcing that you keep dependent on them, and what we try to offer that ideally our client, we will not work with them longer than 2 years, because we believe by the end of this, while we deliver the most important complex programs for them, their internal talent have the mindset, the skills, the tools to really be independent. And if they need any change, it will be at a very, very limited ask, and also on equal footing, because real life experience sometimes also outsourcing try to create a gap between themselves and the talent, and put in their mind that we know everything about everything. No, we don't operate this way. We will offer 80% substance, and really 20% we give confidence to the internal talent, contrary to the norm where they come with we know everything. They offer 80% their own confidence and maybe 20% substance. So we want to change this model upside down, actually.
Okay. That sounds great. So would you say your approach involves any innovation of any kind?
That's a very interesting question, because we were one of the things that brought us together initially, applying for a UK Innovate Smart grant of £2 million, and we were challenging each other. Where is our innovation? Where is our innovation? You know, and thanks to Richard, he's the one who gave us the idea of the Path Hive, because we found that in almost everything that we do, it has been done before. But when we package everything together into the Path Hive, it's a collection of incremental innovation. And this incremental innovation put together into our Path Hive approach makes the innovation. So our innovation actually is in the hive, but not in everything on its own. Of course, Jerome can tell you about our future plans and dreams to include AI and so on. But we, even when it comes to AI and technology, we are looking at it as an enabler, but our really innovation in how we looked at thousands of reasons why projects fail, and we package a solution into our Path Hive that really tackle all this together. Yeah. Does this make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah. So do you want to carry on from that, Jerome?
Yeah, I was almost try to avoid it ending up being a tale of technology innovation, because that's always where it ends up. But yeah, I mean, you know, what we've been working on for the best part of the last year, you know, in fits and starts as we've gone, is developing this path model into an IT system. You know, so we're building, you know, an IT platform that's an enabler for that. And then the real strength of that lies, you know, and it's been a number of discussions around bringing in AI into this. Now, I know that AI, you know, I work in this field, so I work with these words like, you know, well, it used to be cloud. That's dead now, de rigueur. You know, now it's blockchain, and then it's AI and stuff like that. These, you know, they're horrible words, but actually, they're reality. So there are some very interesting, capable things you can do with machine learning. Certainly when you've got data. Now we've got data, so we can look at how projects perform, how programs perform, so we can try. There was that earlier conversation about, you know, conflict in the boardroom, as it were, and how do you get a board to agree what projects should potentially be killed? Because that's the hardest one, isn't it? The CEO's pet project, we assess it, Path assesses it and says, this project is a no-goer. You know, you really shouldn't be doing this. How do you convince him? Well, in my experience, maybe it's naive, but in my experience, data and logic wins, even with CEOs who have got their feet firmly stuck in the ground and are saying, this is my pet project. Ultimately, if you can show them that here's what our platform is telling us, and here's 10 years or 20 years of a pattern of behavior that leads to this result, then that's a very powerful tool. And certainly that's what we kind of see the AI as being almost an assistant, a kind of virtual assistant to change managers right the way through the process from the beginning. And in a sense, we leave that behind. So one of the things, as Ashraf was saying, this idea that we work for a company for 2 years and then we walk away, and that's very unconsulting-like. Consultants typically want to get the claw in, hold it on for as long as possible. And we're deliberately saying that what we want to do is we almost want to leave the AI behind. So we go and we've left that virtual assistant behind with all that learning experience of their organization and history of other organizations. And that's theirs to use to kind of call up a sort of modern day Mr. Clippit. I see you're trying to reorganize a department. Can I help? That kind of experience of just sort of, being there, as a learning tool for them and for the whole of the path, So.
But we're happy to go back if they need us again.
Sure. Yeah. And there's no blockchain involved.
No. Oh, it's fascinating to hear you talk about AI like that. I didn't realise it was sort of sufficiently developed to be sort of useful in this sort of situation.
Oh, I mean, incredibly.
Yeah.
If you want to see, if you're interested a little bit, you want to see AI in action, go and have a look at something. It's Amazon Web Search. Amazon are very good at some of this stuff. There's a thing called recognition, which is their tool for recognizing images and recognizing things in images. And you can actually go and play with it yourself. You can go to Amazon's website and look for recognition. It's spelled with a K, and play with it. And that's an example where you see some really powerful machine learning in action. The way that it can identify objects, and there's no human intervention, and quite complex objects at quite complex angles. Incredible stuff, really. So yeah, anyway.
I mean, one of my hobbies actually is playing chess. And I think the new chess champion is AlphaZero. And that wasn't taught any chess techniques or strategy or anything. It was literally just taught the game of chess. It just taught the rules. And then it played itself millions of times. And then it learned by doing that how to get really good. And now it just crushes its opposition by just doing really weird looking moves that, everyone thinks they're really rubbish, but they turn out to be winning moves. So, yeah, I think machine learning obviously is coming on really strong these days.
But we start even from much basic levels. There are companies that when they have a new project, they don't even know what are the basic questions we should ask. Right. And our software already capturing this as a starting point. If you have a new project, these are the basic questions you should ask. And when the software will be developed, it will be even interactive. It will pop the questions to the management interactively based on the project and maybe some suggestive answers. So this is in the long term. So we taking it step by step, providing benefits to the corporate all the way.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. So what would you say is your unique selling point?
Alan.
it's in the title, people at the heart. That's where we started. There are many dimensions of change that we talked about, and we all truly believe that it's the people on this call and the people in the consortium that we work with. We have similar values, similar objectives, similar ways of working, I think, that we try and promote to make the thing a success.
I mean, our a point of entry to businesses is often to the officers who look after the people within that organisation. So they are maybe within HR.
Yeah, our unique selling point in our PAS Hive, everything around people. If it is a balance of projects, we link it to your strategy and people. If it is to deliver a technical project, we also look at the people side. If it is developing innovative solutions, It's your own people in the corporate who is developing this. We just give them the tools, you know. We don't impose solutions. The internal talent is there to capture everything. So yeah, it's the hive is everything around people once we go into the details, but of course that is not the time to do it. It's our unique selling point in our people at the heart delivery methodology that looks at everything, which you called it the keys of the kingdom. From the keys of the kingdom, taking it and give it back to the corporate via our past hive approach is
yeah, we'd like to make the officers who look after the people make their lives a little bit easier as well.
Yeah, and we're leaving a people legacy wherever you see it. So they're trained, you're getting the project which is being delivered, we're hitting across all the stakeholders. It is all about people.
That sounds great. And actually, you must be psychic, because you actually answered my next question, which is, what does PATH stand for? And I've realised it's people at the heart.
It's Jerome's machine. It's Jerome's machine learning that's coming into effect.
That's why we've been turning it around. It is our USP. It is what we're built on. It is the hive. The hive is a platform where people are at the heart of it. Keeps on coming back to it every time. And
no, that's now okay. So that's interesting. So people at the heart, I can understand, because you talked about the internal staff who are at the heart of the organisation and so on, and that's your USP as well, to get them involved, take ownership, and to hand it back to them at the end. But could you say a bit more about what the hive part is? What does that mean?
So see the hive as a platform which is bringing together the various aspects we've been talking about, which cover the change management. So you've got the pillars, which are the people, the technology, and the processes, and they come together within the hive. So the hive works because every aspect of it is working together. It's an engine, and that is what we're actually bringing together with the people at the heart of it.
So is Hive actual sort of software then that you use?
There's a software part of it,
yes.
And the actual people element a lot of it will actually go on the software which Jerome is actually building, because there's the thinking that has gone behind it, and which is being incorporated in the software so that it can be delivered to the companies when they need it as well. So if they need to come back to it within the 2 years we're working with them, they can log in, they can continue using it. There is the platform that they will actually have access to.
Okay.
Hive refers to the interaction between all the participants bringing their individual skills, and reflecting back from the clients and the teams. Interact. So it's interaction, just like bees with different skills within the hive.
We're all bees in our own little way, aren't we?
They all have their different roles to play, and it's the same.
You can call it, in other words, this past hive is just our customer journey. Yeah.
The hive is a customer journey. Okay, yeah, that's great.
Journey,
I'm just visual. I've got all these visual images now of like a hive, a bee sort of running around, and then also got like a big heart with lots of people inside as well. I think you could do some great graphics around that.
I think that's a good analogy.
Okay, so we've been speaking for now, so I'm very respectful of your time and also the time of our listeners. So I ought to call it a day, really. Well, it's been fascinating to have you all on. I've really sort of learnt a lot about this new way of doing things, and I think it's sort of opened my own mind up to sort of this new methodology. And I can see that I think it's a great idea, really. And I could see, just by you saying this is who we are, this is our methodology, this is why we're different, I can see you're really sort of highlighting the failings of sort of other firms where they don't do that, where they just come in, charge a lot of money, put a system in place and sort of disappear again, and then no one's really on board with it or sort of really takes ownership for it, which then would, might be coming under budget, but then it doesn't really help the company very much sort of going forward. So so it's lovely to meet you all, and I'll put the link to your website underneath, which is it path-hive.com, is that it? Yeah, path-hive. So I'm sure people can get in touch with you there if they want to find out more. So I'll let you all go back to whatever you were doing, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you very much, Keith.
Thank you.
That has been great.
Very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.